Hello and welcome to the second Design Stubble. The Design Stubbles are a collection of design ideas to help with our thinking, and they've been put together into a series of short presentations, or stubbles. I like the name Design Stubble because, well, they're about design, and they're also quite short, like the stubble on your face. So they're called Design Stubbles. So Design Stubble number 2 is about the 80-20 rule, and have we got out of it everything that we need? Do we understand it? What is it, and where did it come from? So the 80-20 rule, I've come across it a lot during my design career, and I've had it quoted at me whenever there's been a big problem at hand. People have often said, just adopt the 80-20 rule, and of course it occurred to me that I didn't really know what it was, and I didn't really know where it came from. So this stubble has resulted out of some of those investigations. The work that underpins the 80-20 rule was performed by an Italian economist called Vilfredo Pareto at about the 1900s, and he was looking into the relationship between income in Italy at that time and people. So he drew a nice graph. He got his facts and figures organised and together, and he drew this lovely graph which plotted the income that was possible against the people that could earn that type of income. And he looked deeper into the figures, drew himself a nice little line. He was looking into the relationship between that curve and the average income, and he was able to say that 20% of the people in Italy earned more than average. And in fact, of those 20% of the people in Italy, the total that they earned was actually 80% of all the income at that time. So this is where the thinking for the 80-20 rule comes from. It's this guy working in Italy about the 1900s looking at the income against people, that 80% of the total income comes from just 20% of the people. As I said, 20% of the people earn 80% of the income. And you can start to develop this thinking and develop this idea to say that 80% of the effect of something comes from 20% of the cause. And if you address 20% of the cause of something, you're able to fix kind of 80% of the problem. And this is something I know that's used by many companies. I mean, I know Microsoft, for example, when they're looking at debugging some software, they'll look at the sort of top 20 issues, top 20% of issues that come up, and they just know they're going to fix 80% of the problem, the software as they're debugging it. Another way to think about all this relationship between 80 and 20% is to say that, well, you should feel free and able to use 80% of your time and effort on the 20% of a problem that actually matters. So not every part of a problem, I think, has the even priority. There are 20% of it that is in fact going to solve 80% of everything. So you should feel fine about spending 80% of your time on just that 20% that actually matters. This curve, we've seen it coming up from the work in Italy with the economists at that time, but it comes up again and again and again, and it came up recently when I was looking at some usage stats from Flickr, and it kind of made some interesting connections. When you look at the Flickr usage stats, of course, it's not income against people, it's uploaded photographs against users, but it's the same curve, and it comes up with the same type of data. So 20% of people that are uploading to the registered with Flickr account for 80% of the uploads, and 10% of the people that are using Flickr account for 75% of everything that's there. Because we've got this data to look at and work from, I can look even closer, and I just can see that 5% of the people account for 60% of what's there, and when you get down to 1% of the users, they're accounting for a staggering 25% of what's up there. These are real superpower users. And then when you think about, well, the relationship, everything we've learned from the 80-20 rule and that economist's work, we can think about how we could take this information and maybe apply it to the problems that we have in front of us. And it seems to make sense that if we address 1% of the cause of something, we should predict that we'll be able to fix 25% of a problem. And thinking about that again, we should feel very comfortable about using 25% of our time and effort on the 1% of the problem that actually matters. So if we're working on something, and maybe it's only sort of Tuesday afternoon and we haven't done a lot of it, as long as we're aware that we've been working on that right 1% for 25% of that time, we know that we're still on course and still on track and still have focus. But of course the question that we all have, I'm afraid to say, is what is that 1%? that really matters. Thank you very much.